Hello, everybody, and welcome to Hashtag Truth. Well, we had somebody cancel on us yesterday, but she had a very good reason. Mabel Rose will be with us later on, maybe in the next month or so. A little family difficulty there, and our hearts go out to her. She lost her grandmother, so hashtag Truth and everybody. Condolences to you, Mabel, and I hope everything works out, and I hope you get back on the show. We all love you. Neal Nitro, how are you doing, sir?
I'm good, Scott. It's finally nice to meet you after seeing you behind the screen.
Oh man, no doubt. I've been looking forward to this, man. I've been watching YouTube today, catching up on who Neal Nitro is, and you got to tell me about the tag team that you and Bryce Anthony used to be in, man. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, unfortunately, YouTube is kind of after my era, so there's not a lot of me on YouTube, but there's a lot of VHS of Neal Nitro. But Bryce and I used to, thank you, come here, hold on, come here.
Yes.
My son's stepping in, say hi.
Hello.
What's going on, man?
That's my son, Zachary. But how about I start at the beginning? So you kind of get an idea, because me and Bryce become a tag team later on. But I started in the business. Okay, actually, I grew up with wrestling, like most of us did. I remember my first match that I ever watched, 1984. It was Ric Flair and Ron Garvin from the TBS studios.
Nice.
And I was hooked. Grew up on the NWA. I'm from Greenville, South Carolina, so Monday nights was the Greenville Memorial Auditorium. Grew up on wrestling, and then of course when I got into high school in the mid '90s, wrestling wasn't cool then. As a teenager, it wasn't cool to watch wrestling. And then when the Monday Night Wars started, that's when I started picking it back up.
Everybody, if you didn't watch wrestling during the Monday Night Wars, something was wrong with you. If you knew about wrestling, period, and you didn't watch the Monday Night Wars, I mean, even as a fly-by fan, that was probably from way back till now one of the greatest 5 years of wrestling, man. Would you agree with that?
Of course. And we was watching one live and flipping back and forth, but you was taping the other so you could watch it in its entirety. And mainly it was taping WCW and watching WWF live.
Right.
But in the late 90s, 99, I started working with a gentleman who was in independent wrestling. His name was Mac Truck. And I was living in Spartanburg, and at that time, APW had their show was airing on the local channel on Friday nights at midnight, and it was kind of like a cult following.
Okay.
Eagle, he ran out of a building off of Lake Bowen, the Shamrock Cafe.
Okay.
And he would pack that building out. I want to say 250 people.
Nice.
And he had a school. And for my 23rd birthday, my now ex-wife, she paid for the deposit for me to go to wrestling school. The trainer at the time was a gentleman named Hunter Thompson.
Okay.
Hunter was brought up with Chief Wahoo McDaniel. And
old school, big time wrestling.
Yeah, if you remember the AWA that would air on ESPN in the mid '80s,
Oh, I love their logo, man. The wrestling guys. Oh yeah, yeah. I remember AWA.
But in the mid '80s, it was Nick Bockwinkel and Kurt Hennig and the Midnight Rockers. But if you watch some of those, my trainer was one of the jobbers, and this was out of the casino in Las Vegas. That's where they filmed all of that. But I was 130 pounds, real light on my feet, able to move, and I legitimately got the crap kicked out of me for about the first 6 weeks, just tossed around because that was the common rule of thumb in the schools back then was get that large deposit.
You were paying your dues.
Yeah, but it was you get the I hate to say anything bad about Jerry. I know everybody trashes Jay Eagle, but Jerry wanted that deposit, and then you get tossed around. And if you didn't come back next week, it didn't hurt his feelings. He got the money. I got tossed around for about 6 weeks, and it was okay. This guy keeps coming back, even though he's 130 pounds. Well, let's show him something.
There you go. See, a lot of people now. Me personally, I do not like the man, and I have other reasons.
Of course.
But and I've made them well known, but I'm not going to bring that up during the interview. But you know, a lot of wrestling organizations are like that, though. You know, they call it paying your dues. You go in, you know, they'll throw you a few dollars. They want to see if you actually, you know, they're gonna, you know, let the boys, you know, beat up on you for a couple of months and see if you're really tough enough to come back. And then next thing you know, you're in a title hunt somewhere. You know what I'm saying?
Of course. Of course.
A lot of kids nowadays, I hate to say it, they want to skip that part and go straight to winning the belts and all that, because that's where you get your, you know, so-called, you know, paydays in indie wrestling, is when you're carrying around straps. You know what I'm saying? To them, that's their line of thinking.
They have paydays in indie wrestling?
So, well, that's what some of them have. That's what some of them were taught. You know what I'm saying?
Of course.
You know, they think, you know, if I get somewhere and I hold a strap, I can go to this other organization, and instead of making $10 a night or a hot dog and a handshake, I can legitimately ask for, you know, $50 a night because, hey, look, I'm carrying a strap. And that's a lot of people think that way in nowadays indies wrestling. And I'm not downing anybody. I'm really not. I'm just the show's called #Truth, and I'm going to put it out there like that. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I don't want to keep referring to it as my time, but at that time before the internet, belts, the main thing was to get on TV. That was your exposure was getting on TV. And at that point in time, Jerry had the local television show. He was bringing in guys. There was names. I mean, Ron the Truth Killings, he was there consistently. Kid Cash was there. Jerry was bringing names in. In Georgia was NWA Wildside, which at the time was part of the WCW power plant. It was kind of like a proving ground for those guys. It was to where the guys at the power plant could go and work in front of a live crowd, and that was NWA Wildside. And those guys were coming up there. That was the thing, was to get on TV.
I mean, nowadays, you know, the internet is popular. What I do is popular. You know, there's 1,000 podcasters out there doing what I do. And, you know, there's like many other ways to get it done, to get your name out there. But back when you were going through the school and things like that, you're right. The only way you got noticed outside of your little territory was to get on TV, you know, and get a wide viewing audience. And a lot of, you know, the kids don't realize how well they have it now with all these media outlets that they can go to and get their name out there. And back in the day when they said you paid your dues, you did what you had to do. You had to really listen to the people that were training you, because they knew the people who did these TV shows, or they are, you know, or Chief, you know, if you knew Chief right away, you know, you had to impress him to get on that TV show.
Yes. And Chief liked me, not only because, you know, he's seen I could take a whooping. I could make his guys look good, because his guys that were performing on TV were coming to the training and they were trying new moves on the 130-pound kid that could bump good. And then outside of that, I was coming every week, twice a week, and I was paying Jerry. I was giving him my money. I was consistent. So Jerry liked me. But at that time, the goal was to get on TV. I went to school for, I want to say, about 6 months. And an interesting story about my first match. So back in '99, WWF television had Jeff Jarrett hitting Moolah and May, or he hit Moolah with the guitar.
Right.
I don't know if you remember that. He
Yes,
cleaned
I
her
do.
clock, and that was before the Dudleys were powerbombing women. But that was like really the first time you seen a male worker actually physical contact against a female worker, and it being 60-year-old Moolah. Anyways, that happened on Monday. That weekend, Moolah and Mae Young were booked to come to the Shamrock Cafe. I was booked to have my first match. Jerry put me under a hood. I was nervous as all get out. I was wrestling a guy named Jason Davis that I had actually been training with. Jason had more exposure than I did. He'd been working for about 2 years.
Did you? I just want to know, while you're telling the story, did you come in baby or heel?
I was heel.
Okay.
I was heel. And I had a hood, and my mom made me a little outfit. I'd ordered a hood from a guy, and it was the mask of the Great Sasuke. I don't know if you've heard of the Great Sasuke from Japan.
That's new to me. I'll have to look that one up.
Great Sasuke. Look him up, because there's a interesting story about Sasuke. He's actually a Japanese politician, and he still wears his hood as a politician.
Oh, sweet.
I had the Great Sasuke mask, and I had my mom. She's a seamstress. She made me this outfit, and me and Jason worked on her match, and go to the show. I'm in the locker room. Moolah and May come in. Per my training, I'm not supposed to mark out. I'm not supposed to say, hey, I seen you Monday night. I'm not supposed to do all that. And I'm bottling it up. Don't mark out, Neal. Don't mark out. Don't mark out.
But it's hard, man. It had to be hard. You're seeing two people who are nationally exposed. I don't care if they're women or not. These guys are superstars. I mean, you say Mae Young's name or the Great Moolah's name, and if anybody knows wrestling, they're going to turn their heads immediately and look at you, because those were the two biggest women in all of sports.
And at that time, that week, they were legitimately on national news. They were on CNN because Jeff Jarrett cleaned one of them's clock with a guitar, and everybody was like, oh my gosh. And Moolah even had scratches down the side of her face from where the wood had shattered and scratched her face.
Those two women were actually the women's revolution before any of this women revolution stuff started, brother. I mean,
of course. But me and Jason go out to do our match. My name was given. I was called the Surge, which there's a story behind the Surge. Matt Hardy, before when he wrestled under a hood, and he didn't wrestle under the hood as that character, but that was one of his first wrestling characters, was the Surge.
Right.
And that's the name Jerry gave me. Jerry's, Matt and Jeff had just come out of this territory and went national, and Jerry's like, we'll call you the Surge. Okay, whatever.
If he has a problem with it, he'll get back with you.
Yeah. So go out to do the match. I'm nervous as all get out. I'd never performed in front of a live crowd. I'm under a hood to kind of protect myself. Anyways, we start out, and Jason backs me in the corner, and he gives me 3 chops, and I projectile vomited.
Oh, no. Are you serious? Right in the middle of the ring.
I within 2 minutes of the start of the match, I projectile vomited, and Jason.
You were that nervous? You were that nervous?
I was that nervous. And then he locked me up, hit me with his finish. 1, 2, 3. It was a wrap.
Yeah, they would have called it a wrap at that point.
Yeah. So we tried it again about 2 weeks later, same match. Not the same result, but my nerves were just, I couldn't handle it.
Wow.
So what I did then was I stepped back from wanting to be a worker. I said, you know what?
Okay.
I'm going to become a referee.
Okay. Now, see, I've heard a lot of people do it the opposite way. And you became trained as a wrestler, became a wrestler, wrestled in a couple of matches, found out you were nervous, so decided to bring yourself down and become a referee.
Yes.
Awesome.
The thing was, though, is I continued my training. I continued going to the school twice a week. But I was I called it, I had the best seat in the house. I was
Right.
legitimately in the ring with these guys. I was learning how to work or take the bumps and the moves in training, but I was learning the process of the matches, the psychology, and everything from the best seat in the house. I was front row.
Right. I was interviewing JD Cormier last night. He's a referee.
Yes,
And the same thing happened to him. He wanted to train to be a wrestler, got into a car accident, couldn't take the bumps anymore because of the car accident, and decided to be a referee because he loved the business. And we said the same thing. What better way to watch a wrestling match and train than to be a referee in the match, literally, 6 inches to 3 feet or 4 feet from watching these guys do the moves. I mean,
and you wouldn't. I started getting bookings like crazy then. A good ref's hard to find, even at that time. But I started getting bookings twice a week, and I was traveling. I hadn't been in the business 6 months, and I'm going to the coast of North Carolina. I'm going to the coast of Georgia. I'm refereeing for the Rock and Roll Express and for Mo, who was part of the tag team with Mabel in the WWE Men on a Mission.
Right.
Demolition Axe. I'm starting to work with the guys that I grew up watching, and I'm
wow. That's amazing.
6 months in, and I was getting booked as the only ref. I would go to these shows. I was getting paid, and I was getting paid good. I was reffing the whole show. The thing that the guys liked about me as a ref was my size. I wasn't big, which is very important.
So you didn't take up a lot of room in the ring.
Yep. You did. You always want the ref to be smaller than the guys because it presents the aura that the guys are bigger.
Right.
The fact
and you can get out of the way quicker too.
Yeah. The fact that I could bump, if the promoter called for a ref bump, like I was money and I was making the guys look good. Ref gets thrown out the ring. I wasn't getting thrown through the middle rope. I was going over the top and flat on the floor. Yeah.
Okay, I have to say something right now because this was said. Scott, you say bring down to a ref like it's a bad thing. That was just a terminology I used. I have all the respect in the world for all referees. Gene, you know that. You're my number one ref anyway. So I didn't mean it. If it came out that way, I didn't mean it the way it sounded. I have all the respect in the world for the referee. I've always said it, and I'll say it to my dying day. The referee is the ring general, and I do understand that as a fan. I don't know the ins and outs of being a referee, but I do know they're a ring general. Without the refs, we don't have a good wrestling match.
No,
so
refs.
If I said something out of line, I apologize, sir. I really do.
Refs are just as important as the guys coming through the curtain, the guys getting in the ring. A good ref can guide a match. A good ref can make a good match look like garbage. I've had bad refs. I've had good refs. Yes, the referees are very important. Very important. They should never be put down. But I spent the next year reffing, getting bookings, learning. But I still craved. The match part. I wanted to work. I wanted to be the spotlight of the match. So we started working it into an angle. I became a heel ref.
Oh, I'm not laughing at you, brother. Let me put a few of these up here.
Of course.
Frank Roof, I love you to death, brother. He said, oh, my, not the coast of North Carolina. He's being a smart aleck. You know that.
Of course. I'll tell you.
Top pay, $10. Not over the top rope. No, not that. And then he said, Scott Larson, stick to the script, fool. Hashtag truth is not scripted, Frank, and you should know that. Anyway, go ahead, man.
I'll tell you something about the coast of North Carolina that makes it so good to work for is the military bases down there on the coast of North Carolina. If the promoter in those cities out there, whether it be Fayetteville, Jacksonville, Greenville, Wilmington, Rayford, that area, if they promote the coast of North Carolina well, you're going to get those military guys coming in, and nothing is hotter than a crowd that's full of military guys that they come because they want to act up and cut up and make fun of the show and and if you're a heel, you can interact with that group. And
why do you think WWE and every other organization that's on TV always has military shows overseas, here, at the bases and everything? Because military folks love wrestling, man.
Yep.
They love to forget about the world they're in and be in a world where other people are fighting and it's not them having to do it, man.
Yeah, and I'll be honest with you, those shows that I would go to where I was the only ref, I was getting $50 to $75, which in 99, 2000 was a good payoff for a referee.
You got $50 to $75 a show to referee?
And well,
tell me your tactics, brother. I want to be
not
a ref
every
then.
show. Not every show.
Oh, okay.
Not every show. But
I got you. I was about to say I'm going to become a ref.
Yeah. And I'd get put in a hotel room. But I would travel with workers. They would get me booked. You know, it's kind of like what goes on now. I see a lot of posts of workers stating, "Hey, I'm traveling to blah, and I've got 2 seats open, and ride, help with the gas, help with the driving, and I'll get you the exposure." And that was true back then.
That's a part that'll never stop in Indies wrestling, brother. It shouldn't stop anyway. No. I mean, that's what I keep preaching on #Truth here, man. We need to bring each other up. What better way than the carpool? I don't care if you're mortal enemies in the ring. You know, if you got to get to a show, you got to get to a show, man.
Well, and the other thing is, if you're leaving your territory and you're booked for another territory, you don't know that group of guys, especially then. You didn't have YouTube videos to watch of the group that you're going to. You didn't have the posters. You didn't know what type of situation you were going into. So if you got booked somewhere, your goal was to tell the promoter, "Hey, I can bring a couple of guys with me." As a matter of fact, I can bring a match. I can bring a ref. I can bring an announcer. And not only now you're networking your boys, you're taking a group with you that you trust, that you know. So you've got people there that you know you can have a good match with. And then if the promoter likes it, now everybody's getting paid.
I got to put this up real quick. Frank Roof said, "Brother, I've been all over the world from coast to coast, from drinking champagne to eating buttered toast. As my daddy would say, we have wined and dined with kings and queens and lived in alleys and survived on pork and beans. Jack Flynn, I'm just the son of a plumber's son."
Is he rehashing some promos like copy paste?
Does he have polka dots? I don't know, man. But I imagine that's true though, because back in the territory days, man, I miss the territory days. I wish the territory days would come back now, because back then shows would actually help each other like that. Wrestlers, like you said, would bring other wrestlers and bring the refs and bring, the next thing you know, everybody's helping promote, everybody's helping, because that was their lifelong dream. And it wasn't, they were relying on everybody else like today. I hate to be that way, but, a lot of wrestlers will do just a little bit and think that they've done a lot. And that's not true.
Yeah.
Back in the day,
like I said, there wasn't, you didn't have the world at your fingertips. Right now you can go sit on the toilet and you've got the wrestling world in your hand.
Oh yeah. I am living proof of that. I watch hours upon hours upon hours of wrestling videos on YouTube and anywhere else I can get my hands on something. And it's not because that's part of what I do. I need to be informed.
Yeah.
And that's, I need to know the lingo. I need to know what people are talking about. I need to know what's going on in the wrestling world today, what was going on back then. If I come on here and I know absolutely nothing about wrestling, do you know how boring this podcast would be?
Of course. That's like earlier today, I shot you a text and I had mentioned the word gimmick and you're like, "What's a gimmick?" And
No, because I've never heard somebody call an interview a gimmick. I know what a gimmick is, but I've never heard anybody call an interview a gimmick, and that kind of took me sideways. But now that I know, when another wrestler tells me that, I'll understand.
If I forget the term for my charger, I'll ask my kids, "Hey, get my phone gimmick."
There you go.
You know,
Gimmick works almost anywhere, right?
yeah. Gimmick's a universal wrestling term that can mean just about anything.
That's what I'm. Now I've got a question I've got to ask you because I was told to ask you this, and I have noticed it in both of the tag team matches that I saw you in with Bryce Anthony. You guys were called the East Coast Avengers. First question: where did the name East Coast Avengers come from?
Well, I'm a fan of superheroes. I've always been. I mean, I'm waiting on somebody like Chuck / Ivan. I'm waiting on him to comment about me wearing Spider-Man and not Batman.
So somebody on here said that. Somebody told Chuck. Let me go back. See, let me find.
I'm
I think
sure
it was
that
Alex.
Chuck
Yeah, Alex said Chuck Winchester. Look at Neal's shirt.
Yeah. So Chuck is gonna, if he catches this, he's gonna comment about it not being Batman. But anyways,
I was gonna do it too, but we're having such a great talk about wrestling.
So I've grew up being into superheroes. I've used it to express myself a lot. My first gimmick really didn't have anything to do with superheroes.
Okay.
I want to say probably about the first 7 years of my wrestling. No, not quite 7. More like about 5 or 6. I was kind of in limbo.
Okay.
I hate to say it this way, but guys probably need to hear this. I was a drug addict.
Okay.
I was a severe drug addict. I was a surviving drug addict at that time.
Okay.
Pain medication. You know, when I started learning that wrestling was going to hurt, I started learning that I could ask somebody in the locker room for something and get something. And
right. That's a show. That's a show all in itself, brother.
Of course, of course.
And I understand, you know, you want to get that out there, but that's a show all in itself. Yeah. And the only question I have is, you're off of that stuff now, right?
I am over 6 years sober.
Awesome.
6 years sober.
Awesome.
And anybody that knows me will tell you I'm a totally different person. But anyways, I spent that part of my career in limbo. I was getting bookings, but I really wasn't getting put over. I was told that you know, I didn't have any promo skills. I was a good worker. I was known for giving guys good matches, but there was nothing appealing about me. I got cleaned up for a period in 2005, and there's a promoter. He catches a lot of heat, but his name's Thomas Simpson. Thomas is known for starting the Omega promotion in the mid-'90s with Matt and Jeff Hardy. Okay. And the Omega promotion is where Matt and Jeff come from, where Shane Helms come from, where Shannon Moore come from. Guys from ECW, it was a well-known promotion in the area. But Thomas told me, he said, why don't you do your gimmick more like who you are? You know, the best gimmicks are always an extension of who you are. You just got to amp it up 2 or 3 times. And me loving superheroes, I decided to let's push the superhero route. I don't want to say I was a knockoff of the Hurricane, but I was.
So my next question is, and I noticed it right away, is that where the Batman cape came in?
The Batman cape was it started out as kind of it was something to get heat with. I had a kid's costume that come with a kid-sized Batman cape. And Bryce and I, when we started tagging, we were heel. And I would wear the kid's cape out. So it would barely fit around my neck, and it would come halfway down my back. Okay. And I played that cape like it was the most serious part of my gimmick. Like, you know, you're not to mess with the cape. The cape goes in the corner, and the ref don't touch it. Nobody touches it. The ring attendant does not take my cape away. It was a serious part of my gimmick, and I use it to get heat.
Right.
And, Bryce, his now wife, she had it made for me, custom made by somebody, and they presented it to me at a Christmas show as a Christmas gift. And
nice.
And I still have it. It's hanging up in my closet at home right now.
The one show that I saw that you guys tagged in, Bryce Anthony has a wrestling podcast on YouTube. If anybody doesn't know about that, go check that out. It's blog with Bryce Anthony. It's on YouTube. It's a great show.
Vlog.
There you go. And he's got one of your guys' matches on there with you with the Batman cape. And during that match, somebody outside the ring had said something about you, and they handed you the mic, and you tore into them, brother, for about 30 seconds. And you played. I ain't gonna lie to you. I did think about the Hurricane when I saw you talk. Because you don't talk with your normal voice. You talk like this. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You could tell you did something with your voice.
Yeah.
But you had everybody's attention in that place, man. And it was awesome to see, man.
Of course. And let's get to that. We're jumping around, but
Okay. I'm sorry. I had to ask.
No. I mean, real quick, the East Coast Avengers name come from Bryce and I needed a tag name. We needed something that was kind of superhero related. The comic books had the West Coast Avengers. There was an actual comic book series, the West Coast Avengers. There was nothing to do with the East Coast. We were performing on the East Coast, so it just popped up. Hey, East Coast Avengers, and it had a nice ring to it. We would refer to ourselves as ECA. We would shorten it down, ECA. It would give the crowd something to chant, ECA, ECA.
There you go.
That's where that name come from.
Okay.
Okay, now to point two. You was talking about my voice, how I changed it. I always pop in on your shows and ask these guys to do promos.
Right.
Do your promos. And I see so many guys get up, and most of them are at their house just like I am. They're looking at a screen. They don't have an audience in front of them, and they can't cut a promo. They can't do it.
Yeah, some of them have a hard time with it.
Yeah. Promo's got to be something done right on the spot. You have to instantly go into character. And nowadays, it's even more important than when I was working. When I was working, it was the stuff that went on TV. If you were fortunate enough to go on TV, it was taped segments. You had an opportunity to redo it and reshoot it if it wasn't good.
Right.
You have better options now because you can sit in the mirror and do your promo over and over before you finally take the phone out and click record.
They somebody had said something. I can't remember who. Maybe somebody can remind me the name, or if you're watching and you're that person, tell me again it's you. But somebody had told one of the wrestlers that I was interviewing to take an inanimate object.
Yes.
Go in the mirror, look in the mirror, and do a promo about that inanimate. Just keep practicing doing a promo about that object until you got it perfect. I mean, down pat. And that's how you learn how to, that's the beginning of learning how to do a promo. To rehash what you're saying, do you think that when I get on this mic, this is me. I mean, if anybody who knows me knows my whole gimmick is me. If you see me outside of this room, if you see me at a wrestling show, I don't change. This is me. This is Scott Larson.
Yes.
But if you don't think that I spend time in front of this mic with a shut-off camera imitating what I'm going to do on the show, you're wrong. I do promos myself.
Of course.
And that gets me over the fear of asking questions, of being myself on here, doing things. It's not embarrassing to stand in front of a mirror or stand in front of a camera. If you have a camera, do it in front of a camera. That way you can play it back and go, oh my God, that was horrible. I got to do this. Or take it to somebody else you're recording who knows promos, who is a good wrestler, who's good at promos, and ask them advice.
Of course.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Well, and here's the thing about it. If you can't do a promo in your bathroom solo, what makes you think you're going to be able to do it in front of a crowd of 50, 100, 300 in wearing nothing but spandex tights and make them believe what you're saying is true. Later on in my career, when my body couldn't handle the bumps, I started working the mic. I knew that I could talk the people into hating me or liking me by working the mic. And I didn't have to go out there and kill myself.
There are guys in independent wrestling right now that have been independent wrestling for over 20 years. And I hear it all the time. I'm not going to name names, but I hear them. They talk to me all the time, and they're like, Scott, I'm on the end. I can't do as many bumps. I do tag team wrestling just to make sure that I don't get as many bumps as I used to. I do this, I do that. But what I do best is ring psychology. Give me the mic, and I'll heat a crowd up, or I'll make a crowd love me.
Yep.
And that's where I'm useful. And then when I go to the locker room, I give advice to the young men and show them how it's done. And that's basically what you're saying, right?
Yes. And if you're a hell of a worker and you can't cut a promo, you need to start working on it. But if your work's good enough that a promoter's putting you over, then you're going to have to ask for a mouthpiece. I'll tell you an example. And I haven't seen them live, but I try to catch as much video as I can. And I tell you that the greatest, I think, in the local area, the guy with probably the best body would be Derek Driver. But
and they combined him with one of the best promo shooting managers in the world, brother.
I never.
Barry James.
He was in the business before me, and I think he must have took a hiatus or something. And then I never got to meet him. I never got to work with him. But when he started popping up on the internet about 2 years ago with Derek, that man, I bet he can get the crowd booing just by walking out. He wouldn't even need music.
But you want to know something? You want to know something? Derek Driver's not bad with the mic. I can tell you that personally. I've seen him do promos. He's not bad with the mic. Derek Driver's got the whole package.
Yes.
And that's what's scary.
But I'll tell you a little backstory.
Wait a minute. But for some reason, when they put him and Perry James together, that was magic. I know who did it. I'm not going to call him out, but the person that put those two together had a foresight, and they said, man, I know this guy's good. I know he's great. I'm going to put him together with Perry. We're going to see where this goes. And it was magic, brother. And it's still creating magic today. If you have not seen Perry James and the tag team, with his tag team or with Derek Driver by himself or whatever, you are missing out on one great show. And I'm being very serious about that.
And you know what the best part about it is they're not doing that together at one show. They're going around and doing that. You know, you used to see, like, I might go work at this show and have a manager just at that show. And then I'll go to the other shows and I won't have a mouthpiece or somebody there with me because the manager's only booked in that certain area. But I see Perry and Derek and Myrick together. They're a modern day Midnight Express.
They have been tag team champions at multiple indie wrestling organizations.
Bryce and I worked Derek and Myrick back in, we feuded with them in a couple of organizations in, I want to say 2007. So I actually seen Derek when he first got out of training. We worked together in Forest City, and Derek was just this little quiet, skinny kid. You wouldn't hear a word out of it. I don't know how he called matches because the boy would never talk. Had Derek not taken his hiatus to become a father,
right?
And
which there's nothing wrong with that. Life comes first.
No, Derek would be on national TV. He would be there.
Oh, I have no doubt that Derek's still going to be on national TV.
Of course,
there's no doubt in my mind, brother. When I first saw him, and everybody knows I frequent EWF. That's where I've seen him. That's where, him and Perry got together first and started doing their thing. And they made Dapper and Dangerous the tag team they have now. And my gosh, man, I mean, you love to hate them guys, man. I do this show. I hate the bad guys. I love the good guys. But I can't help but say, man, these three guys together know what they're doing. And the person that put them together, I'm gonna call him out there, man. Boomer Payne, who does the booking for EWF, man, put them together, and that was genius, brother. It was genius.
That's money, and people shoot on Boomer sometimes. you know, but
Don't do it in front of me. That's all I got to say. Don't do it in
I
front of
love
me.
Boomer. I've known Boomer for a long time, and you know, yeah, he's got a brilliant mind for the business. He's got a
Yes,
brilliant
he
mind.
does.
And I hear people crap on him, but whatever.
He's still running though, ain't he?
He's still running.
He's still running.
But
You know, that's like everybody craps on Jay Eagle, even me, but the man's still running. If the man's still running, you know, he's still got one up on you. So,
yeah.
you know, that's one thing about it. But yeah, there's, you know, when you decided, now, are you currently still in wrestling in any capacity, or are you totally out?
I actually done the same thing that Derek did. My now ex-wife, when she come to me in 2007 and legitimately told me I'm pregnant, I worked one last show that it was a big booking I had, and I stopped wrestling. I stopped wrestling.
The reason I'm laughing is not because of your story, because the same thing happened to me. My wife became pregnant in 2007. I looked at her and said, I'm not having another kid out of wedlock. We're getting married. So
yeah,
we got married July 1st, 2007.
So. Oh, that's my birthday. That's my birthday.
Really?
Yeah.
Hey, my anniversary's on your birthday, brother.
But yeah, I stopped. I mean, I was beat up. I wish I'd have started when I was 18 years old. I didn't get started until I was 23. So,
did you ever think about being a manager or anything of that nature?
I'd really like to get back into it. I tried a couple of years ago before David passed.
Now, is that wrestling or managing, or what part did you want to get back into, or behind the scenes?
Yeah, I just want to get back into the business. I could do anything. I could work. I don't want to, you know, I couldn't work on a full-time basis or even a part-time basis because I have a full-time job. I'm a full-time father.
I'm pretty sure anybody who, with your experience, man, even a one and done here and there, man, there's organizations out there that'd love to have you.
Yeah. And a couple of years ago, I got a call to come to a school down in Columbia, and you know, hey, would you come down here and run a class for us? And you know, I got people contacting me, want me to come to shows and just hang out. And you know, it's tough. I'm a full-time father. I got 2 small children, but they're becoming more independent now and getting older, and I need something to do. So,
so right here on #Truth, if you've got a job for Neal Nitro, he's available. Just saying.
I've booked shows. I can ref. I can look. I'm not on here like some old dog begging for a spot. My life goes on. But
hey, I could say that too. I mean, I understand that too, because I see you on your Facebook page all over the place, brother, taking pictures and that. And I've been following you since you said you wanted to be on my show, because we booked this almost a month ago.
Yeah.
And you know, every time something, and you're a friend on my Facebook page, and every time something pops up, man, I'm looking and going, man, this guy's got it together. So, yeah, I mean, I even took your eye doctor photo this morning and used it in my advertisement. I thought, cool.
I seen that. I was like, dang, that's quick. I just put that up.
Yeah, I was like, hey, that's a good picture of him. I mean, just centered. I didn't even have to crop it or anything. It was like, bam, perfect. I said, he knew what he was doing. He knew I was going to put that picture up there.
No, my greatest achievement is my 2 children and being a father.
No doubt. No doubt.
I grew up without a father, and I stress that my goal is to be the world's greatest dad to my children. I don't care what anybody else thinks about me. I only care what they think about me, and I know they think the world of me.
That's me, brother. That's me. I've got 3 children myself. My wife had 2 children before I met her, and we have 1 together. So we have 6.
Wow.
So we, my number 1 priority is being a dad first and foremost, man. I mean, all my kids are grown except for I've got an 11-year-old daughter still here, the one that me and my wife had together.
Yeah.
And they are number 1 priority, man. Number 1. And I have no regrets in saying that over this podcast, over anything else, man. They are number 1. But but what I love about my family is they let me do this, and they love that I do this, and they help me out in any way I can. So I love all of them for helping me.
Well, and like I said, my kids are getting more independent now. They're older. They know the stories about me wrestling. They've seen me wrestle one time live. But I'd like them to be around. That was a big part of my life. That was a family to me. Some of those guys, come here. This is my daughter.
Hello.
Hi. Okay, you can go. She's being nosy.
Hey, they can come on anytime they want, brother.
Yeah, there's guys out there that I haven't seen in many years that I still consider family. The Adam Jacksons and
who?
Josh Steinborn. Me and Josh go way back.
What was that name?
Adam Jackson.
Who? I'm just kidding with you, man.
Adam Jackson. I put him over plenty of times. Plenty of times.
That's sorry, unbookable, whatever.
Yeah. Just shoot. That's another man that stepped away to raise a family, to get a family. And he got to the point that I'm at now that, okay, my kids are older, more independent. I miss it. Let's get back into it. I'm glad Adam's there. Adam's a hell of
outside of kayfabe, I love Adam Jackson to death.
Yeah, Adam.
Anywhere else, I hate the man.
Adam is just a genuine human being.
He is one of the best, man. I love watching his promos. I love interviewing him. I've had the honor of interviewing him a couple of times, and he is awesome behind the mic, man. Let me tell you, he has got I've never interviewed him as a baby, but he's got the heel thing down pat, man.
No, and he's got that country accent, even makes it better,
yeah.
But I haven't seen Adam in 10 years, and if I seen the man tomorrow, it'd be like we'd never been apart. And there's more guys out there that I miss. Like I said, Josh Steinborn. I met Josh back in '99 at the Forest City National Guard Armory. I miss that part of my life. I miss that family. I'd like to get back around them. I'm at a point in my life where I got my stuff together. And,
I hope somebody gives you a call, man, because I'm definitely going to put you out there, brother. As many people as I come in contact with, man, I'll be sure to put your name out there that you're willing to do just about anything to get back into the business. And if #Truth can help you out in any way, brother, let me know. I'd be more than happy. That's what this is all about, man. Let's get each other going. Let's get each other in the business and let's get to where we want to be, man. WWE. And all that good stuff, man. I mean,
it ain't about that. It's just about you got one life to live. How you gonna live it? How you gonna
do what you love doing? That's how I'm gonna do it.
Yeah, even if there's 20 people in the crowd, so what?
Hey, I've heard people say you've only got 3 people watching your show, blah blah blah. I don't care. Those 3 people are getting entertained. I guarantee you that.
Well, I'm usually one of those 3 people.
Jamie Lee says Neal Nitro will always have a seat in his car. There you go. That's what I'm talking about.
Jamie Lee, another individual. I've known Jamie since he was probably 12 years old.
Gene Perry said, come to EWF next Saturday. See Adam, Josh, and everybody up there. See the family, man. Come on.
Yeah, I've been meaning to get up there. I really have, and I'm that might just force me to come on up there. I was kind of waiting on. That sounds like a good plan. But back to Jamie.
I'll be there. I'll be there. So you be sure to come up and say hi to me if you show up.
I shall. Jamie Lee, I got so many stories about Jamie, and he knows it.
Tell me a good Jamie Lee story. I'm interested. Come on. Tell me a good Jamie Lee story.
Jamie we got Jamie in the business. He was probably 14, 15 years old. And at that time, he wasn't supposed to be able to work. He
said he was 12, not to interrupt you, but it was 12, he said.
he was 12 when I first met him.
Okay, I got you.
We actually got him in front of a crowd. I want to say he was 14, not quite 15.
Okay.
But we threw a hood on him. So anyways, when Jamie turned 18, he had wanted to take a road trip. He had yet to be on a wrestling road trip.
Okay.
And there's a gentleman that he's out of Columbia named Bob Keller. I don't know if you've heard of Bob Keller. He
I've
trained
heard of him.
John Schuyler. He's
Yep.
Bob's a hell of a guy. Super knowledgeable, just, in his own individual. Bob was taking me and another gentleman who Jamie tagged with, Manchild, for a while.
I love Manchild. Attention Deficit Disorder is one of my favorite tag teams. Even though I gotta say Jamie Lee is involved with a new tag team partners, and that the Ring Brothers, I'll always love Attention Deficit Disorder.
Yeah, well, Eric was in my wedding party. I'll put it to you that way.
Great.
I consider as my closest wrestling family to be Jamie, Eric, Bryce, and probably Lyle Case. That's, that if the zombie apocalypse happened, that's the 4 men I'd want beside me.
I love that answer. That's awesome.
We've got a plan for it. But anyways, we was going to West Virginia. That's where Bob Keller was from. Bob would get us booked in West Virginia, and we would take our road trips and go to West Virginia. And West Virginia is wonderful for independent wrestling because you can go into these podunk towns where the elementary school, the middle school, and the high school are all the same. So the directions you would get is come to the school. And if there were 1,000 people in the town, legitimately 3/4 of them would come to the show.
And when you got to the town and didn't know where the school was, all you had to do was say, "Hey, where's the school?" "Oh yeah, it's right," and they'd give you directions.
Well, what we would do is we would stop at a gas station and we would send Jamie Lee in to get the directions. And unfortunately, Jamie is legitimately ADD. So by the time he would come back to the car and try to explain to us where the directions were, we was already frustrated with him because he was legitimately his gimmick. But we got Jamie booked.
You were going anywhere but the school when Jamie got back with the directions, right?
And I think this was West Virginia where we did send Jamie in to get the directions. But we go to the school. Me and Jamie are opening match. Jamie's all excited. He just turned 18. This was his first road trip. And we were opening match. And the gymnasium was packed. I don't want to give you a number, but the gymnasium was full. It was a huge, hot crowd.
Nice.
And me and Jamie beat the snot out of each other. And for the finish, I had him pinned, and then he snot rolled me up, and we done a right at the end of the time limit. We done where the announcer was counting down 10, 9, 8, and Jamie pinned me. And Jamie could have walked out of that building and run for mayor and would have won. He would have won mayor of that town.
Jamie said they had fun with it, and they know it.
Yeah, that was how hot that opening match was. And Jamie and I beat the snot out of one another, and he got over so big that he could have run for mayor of that town and won.
Now, see, I made the mistake the other day of saying that an opening match, if somebody comes out in an opening match, I was putting the show as in layers, as,
yes.
The good wrestlers are the main events, and the guys who came. And somebody corrected me really fast and went, whoa, wait a minute. You put your best wrestlers, 2 of your best wrestlers on that first match to draw everybody in. And I got corrected really quickly, and I learned something really big about the wrestling business. Because like I said, I'm a fan. So when I look, I'm thinking, these guys are wrestling for 30 minutes. Yeah, sometimes it gets boring. But no, these guys are hyping up the rest of the show. And I learned something that day.
Yep.
So watching 30 years of wrestling don't mean you're a genius about it. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, man, opening match, if you go out there and perform, you can walk back through that curtain and look at everybody and say, beat that. Come on.
Right. You got to go out there and follow that.
Because you've also got to think of it this way, too. If doors open, if the show don't start until 8, the doors open at 6:30. And people are coming in and they're buying the gimmicks from the wrestlers and all that stuff and getting seated and getting their chair. They've been there an hour and a half.
With no show, nothing going on, everything. They're just waiting in anticipation.
Yep. And then you've got the introductions and the, hey, welcome to the show and maybe an opening promo. So that first match is what's going to reel them in.
They got to go through, and not that it's a bad thing, but they got to go through. A lot of people do the national anthem, they do a prayer and things like. So you're sitting there for almost 2 hours before you actually see wrestling.
Yep.
And if you come out there and steer the show,
if that opening match is hot and you and I are sitting side by side, and at the end of that match, I'm gonna lean over and I'm gonna elbow you and I'm gonna say, "See, aren't you glad you came?"
Gene said you got to have a great curtain jerk to get the crowd into it right from the start.
Yeah. You want to make everybody glad that they paid their money. Glad that they paid their money. Like if the rest of the show is like this, then we're happy.
Right. And a lot of times, if you're a good promoter or what have you, whoever's writing the stories, for your wrestling organization, you have that, like you said, sometimes they start off with that opening promo, or a guy will come in to wrestle, and before the wrestling match even starts, he's getting jumped by a heel or something like that. Something normally happens right away. That way the crowd goes from being, oh, man, here we go. Okay, we're going to get this boring match to, whoa, what just happened? Okay, I'm into this. And then you get the chants and the cheering, and, that's what I go to wrestling for, brother. Right there. I'm serious. I'm sitting, I sit down right at the beginning, and I'm on the edge of my seat waiting for that first big thing to happen so I can get into it.
Yeah. And if you've got weaker talent, some shows they'll put the weaker talent the first match. I don't think that's proper. Your weaker talent, you'll put them right before intermission.
Right. There's a lot of people that use that term dark match, and I don't necessarily believe in a dark match. If I'm a fan and I show up to wrestling and you have a wrestling match before the anthem or before, the prayer and before, what you guys consider the start of the show is, I still think it's part of the show.
Of course.
These two guys are still going out there and giving everything, I still think it's part of the show.
Yeah, I mean, a dark match is if you're on television. That's the term of a dark match. If it's a preliminary, but let me take it back. If it's done in that context, it would be a preliminary match.
Right.
Not a dark match. If the match is done before the start of the show, it's a preliminary match.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, and I think that's.
I still say it's part of the show. That's like these yahoos who watch, WWE, and there's a pre-show. And they have a championship match on that pre-show. What? It doesn't count because it's on the pre-show? No. Yeah. The belt still changes hands. It's part of the show.
Yeah, well, I mean, the WWF Intercontinental title, it was first won in Rio de Janeiro. I don't know if you heard that story. The Intercontinental title, when it was introduced, they had a match in Rio de Janeiro, and Pat Patterson won it. That match never happened. They awarded him the title. Just look that up. Look that up when you get a chance.
I will have to look that up because I did not know that. You just taught me again something.
He had so the term for a title changing hands that never actually did is you changed hands. It happened in Rio de Janeiro.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now I've got to ask you this, and this is outside of wrestling, since you do have a Spider-Man shirt on.
Of course.
And I'm gonna admit it right off the bat. I was one of them nerdy kids. I played Dungeons and Dragons growing up. Yep. I played, video games growing up. Any video game system that came along, I've played it.
Yep.
All the way up till now. I'm a 49-year-old, geek still.
Yep.
But how into comic books and that are you? Just curious.
Well, the comics, I was huge into the comics for a while. I had the boxes slam full of the comics. And
are you a collector that goes after them numbers like Batman #1, or was you just in it for the love of actually seeing the comics?
All my comics were what they called read quality. My stuff was well read. I liked it for the stories. It was never to keep the corners from being unbent, or I collected for the stories.
Jamie Lee said he had a phenomenal wall. I don't know what that means. You're gonna have to tell me about that.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
Jamie, give us a little bit more information on that. A phenomenal wall?
But I mean, I have 151 Jamie Lee stories.
Hey, I'll never get tired, man. I know we ain't got time for 151 of them, but one day we'll have to sit down and we'll have to talk Jamie Lee for a couple hours, man.
I mean, a lot of stories about Jamie, and Jamie probably.
He said you had a wall of superheroes.
Yeah, wall of superheroes. Yeah, I used to collect a lot, and I legitimately had 3 walls of a bedroom covered with action figures and stuff, and then
did you collect action figures back in the day, like when the Hulk and all that came out? And you're gonna know exactly what I'm talking about because I was probably 10 years old when they came out with these. The little action figures like the Hulk and Captain America and Iron Man, where they were held together. They were plastic. They looked really good, but they had rubber bands in them that held them together.
Was it like how the G.I. Joe figures were made?
Yeah, something sort of like that. I mean, they were like maybe 6 inches tall, maybe 8 inches tall, but the arms inside, there was a little steel like rivet on the inside of their arms, and it would be held to the body by a rubber band. You wouldn't want to do it as a kid because you'd break them.
Yeah.
Because once you broke that rubber band, it was over.
Yeah,
but you could literally pull the arm about an inch away from the figure and see that little rubber band that was in it. And you was able to move the action figure, the arms and the legs all the way around. I collected those when I was a kid. I bet I had 40 of them.
Oh, wow.
Every superhero that they brought out, I had it. And back then, they were like $5, $6. And back in the 80s, that was a lot of money for an action figure.
Of course.
Nowadays, they're going to be $30 at Walmart. You know what I'm saying? If they make them even that small.
I remember the Migos from the 70s, the late 70s. That was my first real exposure, was the 12-inch Migos with the, that they were clothed, and Batman had plastic gloves and a freaking sticker that my mom used to super glue the sticker to Batman's outfit because I would always lose a sticker and I would lose my mind when I didn't have the sticker. So every Migo Batman.
Why didn't you stick with Batman? Why Spider-Man? I'm a huge Batman fan. Me and I Am Righteous are together on that. I'm huge Batman.
So that's the hood ornament off of the 1950 Batmobile.
Nice. Now we're talking. I see it. Okay, never mind. I stand corrected. You are a Batman fan.
this one on my forearm.
Wow. Nice.
That puzzle pieces represent National Autism Awareness.
Nice. That is a great tat.
I have that. My son is autistic, and I got that in honor of him.
Nice.
And then.
Oh, wow. So I stand corrected. You are a Batman fan.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is some good ink, man. I like it. Oh, my God. You got one on. What's that one? That's Aquaman on that side, right?
Aquaman.
The original Aquaman.
The Super Friends with the little
bloop, 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 bloop. Oh, man. Speaking of Super Friends, man, I was so mad. I saw the original Super Friends DVD that had all the 1980s Super Friends episodes on it.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, I'll come back. It was at Walmart. I can't remember which Walmart it was at because my wife goes to like 5 different Walmarts. But I saw it at Walmart, and I was like, well, I'll come back. I know it'll be here. There can't be that many Superman friends here or Superman fans here or whatever. I went back, and I can't find it, brother. I'm so mad. I used to sit every Saturday morning and watch that cartoon like a religion. I mean.
At one point, Chuck / Ivan, he made some entrance music for Bryce and I wish I still had it. And he took samples from Superman 2. He added in some of there's Chuck commenting.
I didn't put that up there because at the time we had already skipped by it.
Yeah.
but I'm imagining that's what he's talking about. Still one of
Yeah.
my favorite entrances in the Indies, but of course I'm biased because he made it.
He made it, and he took the Super Friends entrance song and put it in there, and then he had some quotes from the Richard Donner Superman, and he just put a bunch of sample in it. It was all superhero, and I wish I could get my hands on it now, but it was good stuff.
Somebody could pull if you got it on VHS. Somebody can pull it off with all the audio equipment that's out there today. Somebody can pull it off of there and make it sound good, brother. I'm pretty sure if you've got it on VHS somewhere, that can happen.
He's probably got it stashed on some hard drive. That's like there's a
and he's gonna pull it out at your funeral or something like that.
There's a best of East Coast Avengers DVD that was made probably, oh my God, 2007. We had a best of East Coast Avengers, and I've lost my copy of that, and I'm hoping that somebody has it stored somewhere.
If somebody has a copy of that, get a hold of me or get a hold of Neal, and man, I'll tell you what, I'll pay for it if Neal don't.
Man, it's got some. There's a match. Me and Bryce, we wrestled Chris Hamrick and Christian York from ECW, and
the original EC Dub.
Yeah, Chris Hamrick always ribs with me to the day about not being able to took a pile driver, but I took the Owen Hart pile driver where Owen broke Steve Austin's neck.
Yeah, the one where he missed by just that much. Yeah,
I took that pile driver, and I ended up in Rutherford County Hospital that night.
Oh, who gave you it? Who gave you that pile driver?
Chris Hamrick did.
Wow.
Chris Hamrick did. It wasn't his fault. I don't blame him. It's just something that happens. But that match is on that DVD, and that was a hell of a match.
Oh, if anybody has that, please get a hold of me or Neal. Definitely, because I would definitely love to see that. Big Country said Punisher is better than Batman. What do you think about that?
Punisher don't have a cape. Punisher uses guns.
That's right.
I do like the actor, though, that was portraying the Punisher on the Netflix.
Oh, yes. He came from The Walking Dead. And he moved over to do the Punisher. And, he was excellent.
Okay, so
Christian Bale, Michael Keaton, or Kevin Conroy? Who is your favorite?
I like Christian Bale. That's who I have tattooed on my rib cage. I mean, they all have. I'm gonna go outside of this. I'm gonna say Adam West.
Wow. Now that is the original Batman, the 1960s version of Batman.
Yeah.
That was when they had. I loved the episodes where they were climbing the walls and talking.
Yeah.
Because you knew it was so badly done, and you can look at that and tell they're really not climbing the walls. But it was, man, I'm telling you, you look at that now and you're like, Batman has come a long way.
Oh yeah, I show my kids that stuff. We still laugh about the bat shark repellent. I mean.
Oh my gosh! All the guys who played villains back then were awesome. The Joker, Catwoman, all them, man. I love watching that old Batman.
I'll tell you something.
Go ahead.
And I used to work it into my ring entrances. I would come out and grab the top rope and would pretend like I was Adam West climbing the rope. So I would shimmy across the ropes like how Adam West and Burt Ward would climb the rope.
My favorite part of them old Batmans was Robin. Robin looked like he was like he had an enema stuck up his rear end every time he talked, and it was awesome. Oh my God, Batman! Yeah. Oh my God! Every time he opened his mouth, it was like he had to yell and let the whole neighborhood know what was going on. It was just great, and I mean, he didn't do it every once in a while. It was every time he opened up his mouth. It was like something amazing was happening.
Yeah. I worked some of that into promos, as a matter of fact. I would try to take
that would be great. I Am Righteous said, hit Tim Dixon up. I think that might be about your
your tape
you're looking for.
Tim and Chuck put it together and done all the editing for it and stuff like that. So I'm sure Tim might have a copy on a hard drive somewhere.
That would be totally. I would love if you ever get a hold of that, brother. I'll pay you to get a copy of that.
But I'd like to put it out on YouTube because.
Oh, that would be, man. I'd definitely watch it. I would definitely get the word out there for that because I would love to watch it. I've seen two of your guys' matches, and they were both awesome. I loved it. One was against ADD. You sent me that one, and then of course I. Every time Bryce puts up a blog, I watch his blog, because I just love the guy anyway.
Yeah.
And he happened to be talking about you guys and your tag team, and he showed that match on there. And I was like, man, this is awesome. I wish I would have been around back in those days.
Yeah. I want to say that in my 9 years.
Oh, there you go, Neal. Look up. Read your screen.
He has it. You'll have to send me that audio file or something.
Oh man, wouldn't that be awesome?
But I was laughing when that kid was on there the other week talking about how many matches he had, and in the 9 years that I done it full time, I legit was booked every weekend. Every weekend. If at least once a weekend, mainly twice, sometimes 3 times, but to have as many matches as that kid said he had,
that was the same guy, and I'm gonna name names.
1,000 matches or
10, he said I think he said 1,000 matches.
1,000 matches.
But that was the same kid, and I'm not gonna down him. His name is Jamie Knight. He was a jobber for many years at APW, and he legitimately loves the business. He really wants to get good. He wants to become good.
Yeah.
But nobody's giving him a chance to, nobody wants to train him. Nobody wants to show him the ropes. But he legitimately loves this business with all his heart, and all he wants is a chance.
Yeah.
But when he threw his wife under the bus in that same video, I lost it, brother. Legit lost it.
And then you hear that, and then you go see the promo that James Drake put up last week that was on the WWE website, and James is like legitimately emotional discussing how the business destroyed his marriage, and I don't want to bring that up, but that's true. I know James. I've known him for a long time. So you got this one kid in,
and that made for a great promo. That made for a great story. And when he got in the ring, he did a great job, man, all the way around.
Of course. But this kid's saying, well, I'll give up my wife for it. And you got somebody that's actually there saying, hey, I lost my wife for it. So that kind of stuff. This kid, Jamie, I remember him from the crowd when I was working for APW. He was a kid then. I don't have any advice for him. I really don't. If he ain't got it by now, then, it's best just to buy a ticket or put on a striped shirt. If as long as he's been around, that's about the only advice I can get him. If he ain't got no better, just hang it up, because you're going to end up blowing a knee out. You're going to compress a disc in your back. You're going to have concussions. You're going to get hurt, and you're not going to be able to make a living. Right.
And that's something that a lot of us fans don't legitly realize when it comes to wrestling. We see, and don't take it the wrong way when I say this, we see two guys in the ring that, I don't want to use the F word because that's one word that just wrestlers hate. But, two guys in the ring that look like they want to kill each other, but they're really not. And, fans see that part of it, but they don't really understand the whole concept of you're putting your lives in each other's hands. When even just a simple body slam, if the neck isn't up where they land right, you can paralyze them for life.
Yep.
And a lot of fans don't get that.
No.
Oh my God, all this guy can do is 3 or 4 moves. Well, guess what? As long as he does them safely, nobody's going to complain.
Yeah. My body still hurts to this day. My knee, I remember the match. I blew my knee. I continue. I haven't had an ACL in my right knee since 2004. my knee bothers me to this day. My back bothers me to this day. I have
And
memory
that's why I have all the respect in the world for all these young kids who want to be wrestlers. But the one thing that I will say, and I've always said